And today my adventure begins right here in Farmington, North Carolina. Matter of fact, I'm here at the Farmington Baptist Church, here in the parking lot. We're going to do some backroads small town stuff today here in this area, or just north of here actually. Just to the west of Winston-Salem, to give you kind of an idea of where I'm located. Well, good afternoon, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Hitch, Hiking Yeti here. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it as always. Hopefully this rain is going to continue to lighten up and blow on out of here as the day progresses. We're going to go check out some small towns. The first town we're going to go to today is Yadkinville. And then there's another town just north of there called Boonville. That's what we're going to be doing. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and get started. On our drive, we are going to be passing through a little area called Huntsville, which is not really a town, I don't think. It's more of a community. Not a lot of big buildings or anything like that to see, but I have been told there's a pretty awesome looking house up there that's really old, dates back to the 1800s, and has some pretty interesting lore to it. And we're going to drive up there and go check that place out on our way to Yadkinville. Now, let's get started. So not too far from where we just started our journey from the Farmington Baptist Church, I'm here now at the intersection of Farmington Road and North Carolina Highway 801. And there is a interesting little monument right here that's been erected. And this says the Boone Trail Highway on it. And they're speaking about Daniel Boone, the famous frontiersman. And actually down here on this plaque, it says Daniel Boone lived 2 miles southeast. His parents are buried 8 miles to the south from this location. Now this is not going to be a vlog about Daniel Boone, but one of the towns we're going to today, Boonville, I do believe is named after Daniel Boone. So just wanted to just kind of fit into what we was doing today. So I just wanted to stop and, just check it out. Okay, let's continue on. Now I was told we would see some really cool homes along the way, and they wasn't kidding. Look at that place. I love that woodwork up there on the eaves. That is really awesome. Love old places like that. This place right here looks very much abandoned. Nature is starting to take it back over, that's for sure. Okay, so right here is the house. This house is known as the Dalton Hunt House. I mean, look at that place. I can see why people say it's haunted. That is awesome. That is one cool house. Now, unfortunately, there's really nowhere to get out and take a look at this place. It does seem to be somewhat abandoned, but there is a residence right next to it, and I don't really want to disturb them. But just wanted to give you a little backstory. So this house was built in 1855 by a craftsman named Mr. Dalton, who worked as a plasterer. Unlike many large plantation homes, this house was originally home of the Dalton family. It was constructed in the Greek Revival style, which was popular throughout North Carolina during the mid-1800s. So after the Dalton family, the property passed on to Mary Martin Hunt, better known as Molly Hunt. She was the widow of Dr. G. Hunt, a respected physician in Huntsville community. Under the Hunt family, the house became one of the best known homes in the area. Molly Hunt lived there with her children, including her daughter Daisy Hunt. By the turn of the 20th century, the Hunts considered one of the most prominent families here in the community. Then tragedy happened. Everything changed in 1902 when Daisy Hunt fell in love with a guy by the name of Will Kelly, a young farm laborer employed by the family. Their relationship was strongly opposed, and on February 2nd, 1902, Will Kelly was killed near the barn here on the property. No one was ever convicted, making it one of Yadkin County's most enduring unsolved crimes. And the house still stands at this day, and it's anyone who lives in this area probably knows about this place. That's what my buddy told me who grew up in this area. So he said, yeah, definitely go show that old creepy house. All right, I continued driving down the road and I come across this old Jones grocery store. They got some old gas pumps out here. No trespassing all over the place, and I'm not going to step 1 foot onto that structure, that's for sure. Just out here walking along the road, looking at this place. This is fantastic. And my goodness, look at these old gas pumps. How cool is that? And written right there on the side, it says apple butter, pumpkin butter, and cherry butter. Look at that old retro sign up there, Jones Grocery. Meats, feeds, and fuels. Okay, and right over here on the left-hand side of the Jones Grocery, they do have a historical plaque here. It says Joseph Jones built the original store that at the time was in the Little Yadkin Township, a part of Yadkin County. In 1914, his son Will Jones moved the store across the road east of the present location after a disastrous robbery in 1926. Will built the present structure, which included a residence, and that 3 generations of the Jones family ran the store for a century. Some of the owners was James, Francis, and Vaughn. And yeah, this is a awesome little place. Didn't even know this was here. All right, so that'll do it for this location. Let's keep on going. This was an awesome find, really cool place. Jones Grocery. And welcome to the town of Yadkinville. Actually, we're going to begin things off right here across the road from the Yadkinville United Methodist Church as we walk in this direction up into the downtown area. Yadkinville is the county seat of Yadkin County, and this area has a rich history tied to agriculture and transportation. And right here on West Main Street, look at this place here, the Boxwood Motel. Wow, ain't that a relic over there? Look at that place. So when I first arrived here, I thought the sun was going to stay out. We did get a little bit of sunshine, so I put my shades on. I think I'm just going to keep them with me because it is starting to clear off a little bit, or the clouds are starting to break a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about the early history of the town as we move forward. So Yadkin County was created from Surry County in 1850. Because of central location was needed for a county government, a 50-acre tract was selected as the site of the new county seat in 1851. The town was originally named Wilson in honor of North Carolina legislator Lewis D. Wilson, who died during the Mexican-American War. However, another North Carolina town already had that name, so the legislator renamed it to Yadkinville in 1852 after the Yadkin River. The town was officially incorporated in 1857. So for more than a century, farming was the backbone of the local economy. Farmers raised corn, wheat, livestock, and especially flue-cured tobacco, which became the county's major cash crop. By the 1880s, Yadkin County had numerous tobacco factories producing chewing tobacco that was shipped throughout the South. And right here in the center of town is the Yadkin County Courthouse. It says, "In God we trust." Sure, there's some really good people that works in that place. And speaking of courthouses, the first Yadkin County Courthouse was completed in 1853 using handmade bricks from a nearby farm. It served the county for more than 100 years before being replaced in 1958. The courthouse square remains the center of the community life to this very day. And right out here in front of the courthouse, right next to these steps, you can find this plaque right here. And it's another Daniel Boone's Trail plaque from North Carolina to Kentucky, 1769. During the late 20th century, manufacturing including textile production and later the growth of the Yadkin Valley wine industry helped diversify the local economy. Today, Yadkin County is home to around a dozen wineries and one of North Carolina's premier wine producing regions. And right here on Jackson Street, we have a beautiful mural painted on the side of this building. The butterfly and different varieties of flowers. And one of the fun facts about this town, if you're wanting to know how they came up with the name Yadkin, it comes from a Native American word first recorded as Yadkin, spelled Y-A-T-T-K-E-N, in 1673. Although exact meaning is uncertain, many historians believe it refers to big trees or a place of big trees. Okay, so this is kind of what the downtown area looks like. You can see some of the storefronts. We got the fridge across the way. Right here is the Yadkin Culture Art Center. Really cool place. And then right here, look at that old sign up there. Ace's Restaurant, best cooking in town. Okay, and right here next to the Yadkin Cultural Arts Center is a nice mural they got painted on the side of this brick building. And I'm thinking that's probably a photo or picture, a recreation of the Yadkin River and maybe some vineyards. That's one of those, it's like maybe some grapes or something like that's being grown. And they have a little plaque right here. It's almost like a hidden Mickey, ain't it? Mural given by Joe and Tom Dorset. Okay, so let's dive into the numbers of this town. That's what we do here, right? So the population here in Yadkinville is 2,981 souls with a median age of 41.8. So let's look at demographics. 85.72% is white, 6.81% is black, 0.59% is American Indian, 0.93% is mixed race, and 5.95% is other race. So let's look at the income index. The income per capita here in Yadkinville is $34,832, which is just a little bit below the North Carolina average of $40,311 and the national of $44,883. The median household income is $58,842, which once again comes in just below North Carolina's $71,390 and the national $81,333. Scroll down a little bit further, we can see the poverty level here in the area is really, really good. It's only 10.2%. That is 6% below the North Carolina average of 16.8 and the national of 15.1. Now let's look at crime. Crime here in Yadkinville is actually pretty good too. It's only 2.1 per 1,000 or 2,182, as you can see, per 100K, which is below North Carolina's 2.3 per 1,000 and the national average is right on par with it at 2.1. When we look at that in percentages, the town of Yadkinville is 3% above the national average. The violent crime is 17% below the national average, and property crime is only 7% above the national average. Okay, they got a nice little garden area back here next to the theater. Right here is the entrance to the Yadkin Arts Council. Little water fixture right here. It's very peaceful, very beautiful. And I love these very nicely groomed trees right here. Kind of reminds you of bonsai a little bit. And look at this fountain. Right here it says, aiming for the mark. That is really cool. All right, so this is a really interesting area in town. Got several homesteads over here. I don't know if they're being moved to this area or are they in the process of moving them. Not really sure. But right here is the Tolbert House, built in 1853. And this is stated to be the very first homestead built after Yadkinville was incorporated. So technically, this would be the very first home in Yadkinville. It is right here. Now this is not the original location. It used to be a few blocks away from here. And right next door to that is another very historic building. This old brick building right here is the old Yadkinville County Jail, built in 1892. Now this was the second jail built for Yadkinville. The first one was burned down. And this is just a one-story brick building measuring approximately 22 by 36 feet. And it served as the jail from 1892 to 1928. So the later use of the jail after 1928 was they actually converted it into apartments before being donated to the Yadkin County Historical Society in 1976. And then it was restored by Charles Bruce Davis Museum of Art, History, and Science. And then it was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1988. Okay, so that's going to pretty much wrap it up here in Yadkinville. And but before I leave, I wanted to stop here at the Milk and Honey Coffee Company, give them a try. It was actually recommended by a friend of mine. Said, hey, if you go up there, definitely go in there and check that out. They got desserts. They have some pretty awesome looking cinnamon rolls, and indeed they do. I did not partake in any food, but I have bought myself a coffee, and it is delicious. Very nicely done. Had a great time here in Yadkinville, but now it's time to change our attention to a little bit further north. We don't have to travel north up to a small town called Boonville, North Carolina. That's where we're headed to next. Let's go. So my GPS is telling me it's about 7.8 miles from Yadkinville to Boonville, so shouldn't be long. We will arrive. And welcome to Boonville, North Carolina. Right here at the post office. Zip code 27011. I have a water tower here in downtown area. I have a really cool looking store right across the street. Boonville Flour Mill store. And then behind it, they got the flour and feed mill. That is pretty cool. That looks like it's still open down there because they have a forklift. Everything looks in pretty neat and shapely order. Okay, so there's one thing for sure. The weatherman, I think he fibbed a little bit today, because supposedly shortly after noon, after 12 p.m., it was going to start lightening up, getting a little bit clearer, and it did act like it was going to do that. But I'm telling you, I think it's gotten darker since I have left Yadkinville. I mean, look at their skies up there. And you can just feel the moisture in the air. So I'm definitely going to have to be on point as we walk through the small town of Boonville. So let's get into a little bit of the history and backstory about the town. Boonville is a very small town located here in Yadkin County that proudly calls itself the crossroads of the Yadkin Valley. So when they call this the crossroads of Yadkin Valley, they're referring to Highway 601 and Highway 67 actually crosses right here in Boonville. And the history of Boonville actually stretches back to the colonial era and is closely tied to the frontier settlement and the legendary Daniel Boone. As you can see, they have erected a Daniel Boone Memorial Monument right here in the center of the town where the two roads cross. So long before the town existed, Native American trails crossed just as these two highways right here behind me cross. There was actually a trail that ran east and west that was used by the Cherokee Indians, while another trail ran north and south, and that was used by the Catawba Indians. These trails made the location a natural crossroad for centuries before European settlers ever even showed up. So Boonville is named after the famous frontiersman Daniel Boone. After the Boone family moved here to Yadkin Valley around 1750, Daniel often hunted along the Yadkin River. So according to local tradition, Boone frequently camped near the present day Boonville beside a large spring. One of the area's most famous legends says that even he slept inside of a giant hollow poplar tree that stood near the spring. The tree survived until 1928, and then it was struck by lightning and destroyed. While the story can't be fully documented, it has been passed down through the generations. And right here is the Boonville Town Hall, located at 110 North Carolina Avenue. And the population in Boonville is 1,434 souls with a median age of 44.4. Now let's look at demographics. 90.38% is white, 7.62% is black, 0.64% is Asian, 0.57% is mixed race, and 0.78% is other race. Then we're going to look at the income index. Income per capita here in Boonville is $41,942, which is slightly above the North Carolina's $40,311. The median household income here is $78,828. Once again, that beats North Carolina and falls just shy of the national at $81,333. Then let's look at the poverty rate here in town. Poverty rate is very, very low. It's only 8.9%. That is awesome. That is really, really good. And then when we look at crime here is really good too. Only 856 estimate out of 100K. That is very, very low, well below the North Carolina and the national average. And then when we look at that in percentages, to break it down a little bit further, they get an A+ here. It's actually 60% below on total crime, 62% below on the violent crime, and 59% below on property crime. And as you can see right there is the water tower up there. And right here in front of the First Citizens Bank, they do have a welcome to Boonville sign. But before becoming Boonville, the settlement here was briefly known as Leonora. A post office was established under that name on June 19, 1857, but just 5 months later, on November 20th, 1857, the community was officially renamed Boonville. The town was incorporated by North Carolina legislator February 19th, 1895. And as far as who named the town, historians believe that either Dr. Nathan B. Dozer, the town's first postmaster, or a guy by the name of William H. Rodwell chose the name in honor of Daniel Boone. I gotta say, that is a pretty fascinating looking home right there. That is really cool. So as we peruse along, just want to come down here and see that house. I seen it when I was driving in, and I just liked it. I like old stuff like that. But I want to finish talking a little bit about this town as far as a farming community goes. For most of its history, Boonville was surrounded by farms producing tobacco, corn, wheat, livestock. Agriculture really drove the local economy here, and the town became a trading center for farmers who bought supplies and attended church and conducted their business here. Now, Boonville and Yadkinville are very similar in this way, that both never become major like railroad centers, helping really preserve their quiet and rural character. And right here below the Boonville water tower, you can find the Boonville restaurant building. Yeah, and right here is the Boonville restaurant. I love that old sign up there. Check that out. Ain't that cool? It's definitely got a very much of a retro vibe to it. Really old school. It says, welcome to the Boonville restaurant. Hot bar, burgers, hot dogs, sandwiches, ice cream, milkshakes. All that good stuff you like to consume. And right here on the side of this cinder block building is a very patriotic mural with some stars, and got the American flag down here. And we got some veterans. And I love this message right here. Freedom is not free, think a veteran. And you can find that right here at the Sweet Shack Bakery, which unfortunately is closed today. And right next door to the Sweet Shack is the old theater, which was established in 1948. Very interesting front fascia to the old theater. Sometimes you go to those old towns, you find an old theater and has a very distinct design, but this one not so much. They've definitely changed it. All right, I think that is going to pretty much wrap it up for Boonville. Had a pretty good day today, didn't get too wet. Had to stop a few times because of rain showers, but all in all, we got it all in. Really cool to come see some of these little small towns. And never been here before. I grew up less than an hour from here. And when I was a kid, or a teenager, not really a total little kid, but when I was a teeny bopper and I had my driver's license, me and my buddies used to travel not too far from here to a place called Yadkin, do a little cruising. That was back in the 90s when they used to allow that type of stuff. But all that being said, I had a great day. Glad you come along with me for a little bit of fun, small town fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, I'm the Hitchhiking Yeti, and I will see you on my next adventure. Y'all stay safe. I hope to see you all again soon. Say so long to Boonville, North Carolina. This was a fun one, fun outing. And who knows, it still is not raining, but boy, it sure does feel like it. And it has rained on me a couple times today, but it is starting to stay dry. which is good. At least I don't have to drive in the rain. That's always the worst. When like big downpours, it's always kind of sketchy.